Lightning crackled overhead, illuminating the darkened sky as we stood in front of the dilapidated barn. A chill wind whipped around us, carrying whispers of the past. It was the kind of night that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. But the thrill of the dare pushed us forward. My friends, laughing nervously, were equally drawn by the legend of the barn, the old tales of restless spirits and tragic events that haunted its walls. "Come on, it's just an old barn," Sarah called out, her voice tinged with bravado. Her confidence was infectious, but deep down I felt a gnawing unease. The locals spoke of the barn with hushed voices, claiming that anyone who entered never came back quite the same. I glanced at my friends, their faces illuminated by the occasional flash of lightning, each one reflecting a mix of excitement and trepidation. As we stepped closer, the scent of damp wood and decay wafted toward us, a pungent reminder of the barn's long abandonment. The creaking door hung ajar as if inviting us in. I hesitated, casting a wary glance at the dark interior. It felt alive, pulsating with the energy of all the stories it held. The legends danced in my mind. Tales of farmers lost to madness and screams that echoed long after their owners had left this world. "What's the worst that could happen?" Jake said, rolling his eyes. He pushed the door wide open, and it groaned in protest. The interior loomed before us like a mouth gaping open, ready to swallow us whole. Reluctantly, I stepped inside, the others trailing close behind. The light from our flashlights flickered against the wooden beams, revealing dusty old tools and forgotten memories strewn about like remnants of a lost time. The floorboards creaked beneath our weight, each step echoing ominously in the silence. I felt the weight of the atmosphere pressing in on us, as if the barn itself were watching. We gathered in the center, where a collapsed haystack lay like a forgotten giant. As we shared our favorite ghost stories, the tension began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of camaraderie and the thrill of the unknown. I reached for an old pitchfork, half buried in the hay. "Look at this!" I exclaimed, holding it up like a trophy. My friends chuckled, but as I waved it around, I felt a sudden chill. The laughter died down, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. It was as if the barn disapproved of our revelry, its shadowy corners growing darker, more menacing. I glanced at the others, and the unease returned. They were all silent, their expressions turned toward the far wall. "Did you hear that?" whispered Lily, her eyes wide with fear. We all strained to listen, and my heart raced as I caught a faint sound, a whispering, almost like someone calling out from the depths of the barn. It was a sound that twisted the air around us, a mournful plea that tugged at my very soul. My grip on the pitchfork tightened, and I felt the urge to run, but curiosity anchored me in place. "It's just the wind," Jake said dismissively, but his voice trembled slightly. We all exchanged wary glances, the bravado we'd felt moments ago slowly eroding. I felt a sense of foreboding wash over me, a chilling realization that we might have disturbed something that should have remained undisturbed. The barn felt like a trap, and the shadows around us seemed to shift and sway, closing in like a noose. I turned my flashlight toward the source of the whispering, revealing a series of strange carvings on the wall, eerie symbols, as if telling a story of despair and loss, flickered in the beam of light. My pulse quickened, and I felt an overwhelming sense of dread settle in my stomach. "What is this?" I murmured, stepping closer. The others followed, their curiosity momentarily outweighing their fear. As we examined the carvings, the air grew heavy, thick with an indescribable energy. It was as if the barn itself was alive, breathing with the dark presence that we had awakened. A cold draft swept through, sending shivers down my spine. I wanted to leave, to escape whatever malevolence lurked in the shadows. But something compelled me to stay, to uncover the truth of what lay beneath the surface. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the upper loft, followed by an ominous silence. We jumped back, our hearts racing. "Did you hear that?" Lily gasped. Her voice barely a whisper. My eyes darted around the barn, searching for the source of the noise. The shadows seemed to dance, twisting into grotesque shapes as my mind raced with visions of what might be hiding just out of sight. "We should check it out," Jake suggested, though I could hear the tremor in his voice. The bravado of our earlier adventures had waned, replaced by a stark awareness of our vulnerability. We exchanged nervous glances, but the allure of the unknown pulled us closer. Together, we crept up the rickety stairs leading to the loft, each step creaking under our weight like a warning bell tolling in the night. As we reached the top, the darkness enveloped us. The air was thick, stale, and suffocating. My flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced along the walls. In that moment, I realized we were not just intruders. We were unwitting participants in a long-forgotten tragedy. I felt a chill creep up my spine, and the hairs on my arms stood on end as I strained to see what lay hidden in the depths of the loft. In the far corner, something caught my eye. A figure shrouded in darkness. I could hardly breathe as I squinted, trying to discern what it was. My heart raced as the figure seemed to shift, its presence palpable and unnerving. "What is that?" I stammered, backing away. The others exchanged panicked glances, and it was clear they, too, felt the weight of the unknown pressing down upon us. The figure slowly stepped into the light, revealing a tattered, translucent form. It was a woman, her face twisted in agony. I gasped, my heart pounding in my chest as I realized we had stumbled upon the spirit of someone long lost to this place. The air grew colder, and the whispers returned, filling the space with haunting echoes of despair. "Help me," she seemed to cry, her voice barely more than a breath. "We need to get out of here," Sarah shrieked, her voice echoing in the confined space. The others nodded in agreement, panic driving us towards the stairs. But as we turned to flee, the loft door slammed shut, trapping us inside. A cacophony of screams erupted around us, filling the barn with an otherworldly cacophony that rattled our bones. I felt paralyzed, terror coursing through my veins as I struggled to comprehend what was happening. "What do we do?" Jake shouted, frantically pushing against the door. But it wouldn't budge, sealed by an unseen force. I felt the woman's spirit draw closer, her ethereal form flickering with desperation. "Please, help," she whispered, the weight of her sorrow pressing down on us. In that moment, I realized the barn wasn't just a shelter for lost souls. It was a prison for their anguish. "We have to listen to her," I urged, my voice trembling. "Maybe she needs us to understand what happened." The others looked at me in disbelief, their fear palpable. "Are you insane?" Lily retorted, glancing nervously at the spirit. But I felt compelled to stay, a part of me wanting to uncover the truth behind her torment. The spirit gestured toward the old hayloft, where shadows coiled around the remnants of forgotten memories. "Help," she repeated, her voice a soft lament that tugged at my heart. With every ounce of courage, I stepped forward, reaching out to her. The others hesitated, but I knew we had to understand the history of this barn to find our way out. "And what do you want from us?" I asked, my voice steady, despite the tremor in my hands. The spirit hovered, and for a moment I saw a flicker of recognition in her hollow eyes. Slowly she pointed toward the wall covered in symbols, the carvings seemingly coming to life under her gaze. It was as if she was begging us to unlock the secrets of her past. "It's all connected," I whispered. Piecing together the fragments of the barn's history, we had to uncover the truth, to understand the sorrow that had woven itself into the very fabric of this place. As I examined the carvings, I felt a surge of energy, an ancient power that pulsed beneath the surface, waiting to be awakened. "We need to free her," I urged, my voice growing stronger. "But how?" Jake asked, panic creeping into his tone. I looked at the symbols, tracing the lines with my fingers. "Maybe we need to repeat the story to acknowledge what happened here." The others exchanged uncertain glances, but the desperation in my voice seemed to ignite a spark of determination. We gathered in a circle, each of us focusing on the spirit and the symbols etched into the wall. I began to speak, recounting the legend of the barn, the tale of the woman who had lost everything, doomed to wander the shadows, crying out for help. As I spoke, the atmosphere shifted, the air crackling with energy, as if the barn itself was responding to our words. The spirit drew closer, her form flickering like a candle in the wind. I could feel her anguish, her longing for closure. "Let her know she is not forgotten," I urged my friends, their voices trembling as they joined me in the recounting of her story. We poured our hearts into the words, hoping to bridge the gap between our worlds. As we spoke, the barn groaned, its walls trembling with the weight of the past. I felt the ground beneath us shake, and the whispers intensified, swirling around us like a tempest. The spirit's eyes shone with a fierce light, and I realized we were awakening something ancient, powerful. "You must face it," I urged, the words spilling from my lips like a mantra. The energy surged, filling the barn with an otherworldly glow. The spirit's face twisted in pain as she turned to the shadows, her form flickering like a flame in the wind. "No!" I shouted, sensing her struggle against whatever dark force held her captive. We needed to confront it together, to stand against the darkness that had claimed her life. "We have to be brave," Sarah cried, her voice rising above the chaos. We formed a united front, facing the darkness that loomed beyond the spirit. I felt a surge of courage wash over me, and together we raised our voices, shouting the names of those lost to the barn, each name a plea for justice, each word a weapon against the malevolence that had taken root here. The shadows twisted and writhed, and the barn shook violently as if protesting our defiance. I felt a pull, a darkness trying to drag me into the abyss, but I stood my ground. "We won't let you take her," I yelled, my voice echoing through the rafters. The spirit flickered, her eyes brightening as if she felt our strength. "You cannot hold her," I declared, stepping forward. The air crackled with energy as the barn screamed, the walls trembling as if in agony. The spirit surged, her form becoming more defined, the ethereal glow surrounding her illuminating the darkness that threatened to consume us. Together, we pushed back against the shadows, fighting for her freedom. With one final cry, the spirit reached out to us, her voice melding with ours in a chorus of determination. "I am not afraid," she screamed, and in that moment, the shadows recoiled, the darkness dissipating like smoke in the wind. The barn trembled as if it were alive, the remnants of its tragic past being purged from its core. A blinding light enveloped the space, illuminating the loft as the oppressive darkness lifted. I felt a surge of relief wash over me, and the spirit's face transformed from sorrow to peace. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice echoing in the quiet. With one last flicker, she dissipated into the light, leaving behind a warmth that filled the barn. As the light faded, the barn fell silent, the echoes of despair replaced by a serene stillness. We stood in shock, our hearts racing as we realized what we had accomplished. The air felt lighter, the oppressive weight of the past lifting from our shoulders. "We did it," Jake breathed. Disbelief etched across his face. But a part of me knew we were forever marked by the experience. We turned to leave, the loft door swinging open as if inviting us out. But as we descended the stairs, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted within us. The barn, once a place of dread, had transformed into a sanctuary of hope. A reminder that even the darkest places could be redeemed. As we stepped outside, the storm began to clear, the moonlight breaking through the clouds. "Let's never speak of this again," Sarah suggested, her voice trembling. We all nodded in agreement, a pact formed in the aftermath of our ordeal. Yet deep down, I knew we could never truly forget. The barn had awakened something within us, a bond forged in the face of darkness. We were no longer just friends. We were survivors of a haunting we had faced together. As we walked away, I glanced back at the barn, now bathed in the soft glow of the moon. I felt a sense of closure, a bittersweet farewell to a place that had once held so much terror. But it was also a reminder of the courage we had found within ourselves. We had confronted the echoes of the past and emerged stronger, forever changed by the experience. "You know, this might make a good story someday," Jake said, breaking the silence. We all chuckled, but I felt a shiver run down my spine. It was a tale we would carry with us, a reminder of the night we faced our fears and triumphed over the shadows that had once threatened to consume us. As we drove away, the laughter returned, a fragile veneer over the memories that lingered in the air. But I couldn't shake the feeling that the barn would always be a part of us, a dark chapter in our lives, but one we had navigated together. The weight of what we had experienced hung in the air, a silent acknowledgement of the horrors we had faced. In the following days, I often found myself thinking about the barn, about the spirit we had freed. I wondered if she would finally find peace, if the echoes of her torment had been silenced. But I also knew we had touched something sacred, something that transcended the fear and darkness. We had connected with the past, and in doing so, we had found a sense of purpose. "You guys think we'll ever go back?" Sarah asked one evening, her voice a mix of curiosity and fear. We all shared a look, a silent agreement that the barn was best left in the past. But I couldn't help but wonder what else lay hidden in the shadows, waiting for someone brave enough to uncover its secrets. Perhaps one day I would return, not out of fear, but out of respect for the stories that haunted its walls. For now we carried on, our lives intertwined with the echoes of that night. The barn would forever be a part of our history, a testament to our courage and the bonds we had forged in the face of terror. And as we moved forward, I realized that true strength lies not just in facing our fears, but in standing together against the darkness that threatens to consume us.